I think I can solve my problems. I do not need any help. I have the energy to do it. But beyond this, I come to receive, and if you don't like that word, to share something measureless to man, something that has great depth and beauty. Can you share that with me? I think I can solve my problems. I do not need any help with them. I have the energy to resolve them. But beyond this, I come to receive, and if you don't like that word, to share something measureless to man, something that has great depth and beauty. Can you share that with me? It's a quotation from Xanadu by Coleridge, measureless to man. That phrase, measureless to man, is a poem written by Coleridge called Kubla Khan. And the questioner says, I can solve all my problems. And problems can be solved without the help of others. Because the problems are created by oneself in relationship to another. And these problems, however subtle, however superficial, however grave, they can be solved if one applies one's mind and heart to resolve it. That's fairly clear. It is if one has energy, not be slack, lazy, and what one really wants to solve them, they can be solved. The question says that's simple. But he wants to go much further. He says, I can do all that. And I've come here to share something, as he calls it, measureless to man, something beyond all measure. Something that is not given in churches and the rest of it. First of all, we're sharing this together. I am not a Delphic oracle. There is no authority here. I happen to sit on a platform for convenience, so that everybody can see if you want to see. And that little height doesn't give him any authority whatsoever. And I really mean this. You're not my followers and all the rest of it. So first thing is to realize, what do we mean by measure? Because he uses the word measureless. You're following on? Thought can be measured. Distance can be measured from here to there. And this so-called progressive evolution can be measured. One was this yesterday. Through meeting the present, is what was yesterday is modified, and the movement to the future. That can be measured. Measured. If you are good today, and tomorrow you might not, and that can be measured. And thought, which is a material process, can also be measured. the shallowness of one's thinking, the superficiality, the deeper and the deepest. As long as there is the more and the less, that can be measured. A comparison is a process of measurement. Please follow this if you are interested. And imitation can be measured. Conformity can be measured. And the word measure in Sanskrit too means to regulate, to measure. Meditation, that word means not only ponder, think, investigate, observe, but also it means to measure. From Sanskrit word mad, I won't go into all that. So, as long as there is measurement, the mind can only function in that measurement. Whether it's long or short, whether it's wide or narrow, it can only function in that which is measurable. Right? I wonder if you understand all that. And the word meditation is all, in that word is implied also measurement. Now, the mind, the brain has been trained, accustomed, fallen into a habit of measurement. Obviously. And is something which is not measurable, if there is such thing, can the mind, the brain, and the heart, they are one, can that whole structure be free of measurement? Then only you can find out. Are you meeting? The brain is, as we pointed out several times, and the scientists are beginning to agree too, so perhaps you will also accept it, because the moment you talk about scientists, you worship them, and you think they have achieved something. And when they also say, yes, partly you're right, then perhaps you'll also come along. You see, the brain, as we said, is not your brain. It's the brain which has evolved through time. Millions and millions of years. And that brain is the common brain of humanity. You may not like to see that, because we are accustomed to the idea that we are individual, our brains are individual. Ours, mine, not yours. And that concept has been a constant tradition through millennia. And so the brain is conditioned to that. And that brain is constantly measuring. The more, the less, the better, and the best, the very word better is measurable. So this brain is constantly functioning in that pattern. I don't know if you have observed yourself. You can see this in yourself. Physically, objectively, you can see that a workman becomes a foreman, and if he's good, he's a manager. A priest becomes a bishop, cardinal, pope. The apprentice, then the master carpenter. This is the whole pattern of our existence, which are all measurable. And the questioner says, is there something beyond measure? Measureless to man. Now, how are you going to find out? We'll share it together. As the questioner says, share it with me. How are we going to find out? If there is something beyond all measure, that is beyond all time, because time is measurable. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, measurable. Distance, measurable. And as thought is measurable, if you have gone into it, which you are doing now, please, whoever the questioner is please do listen. Is there something beyond time which is thought? Time is movement, right? And thought is movement. So time is thought. Thought is born out of memory, experience, knowledge. That is the process of memory, of thought. And this process is a material process. Because in the brain is, in the very cells of the brain are the memories. So it is material process. And everything that it creates is a material process. Right? Please follow this, not accepting or denying, but logically. Observing it in oneself and also observing externally. So, as long as thought is measuring, moving in measurement, there can be no other than measurement. Right? Obvious. Now, the question is, can all measure end? Measure as comparison. Comparing oneself with somebody else. The hero, the example, the ideal, the perfect one, and so on, so on, so on. If you observe for yourself, from childhood, we are trained to compare. Better marks in a school, the various classes, college, university, a degree, it's all measurements, which is essentially comparative. Right? Now can you, the questioner who is sharing this with us, stop comparing completely? That is psychological. Naturally, the other thing is academically you have to. So, can you psychologically end immediately, not tomorrow, another day, but immediately all sense of comparison? If you want to go, if the mind wants to go much further. And imitation, conformity, which are all the same movement. Comparing, conformity, imitation are all the same movement. Can that movement end totally? In comparison, there is aggression, there is competition. I'm better than you, and all that. And as we talked about it yesterday, have an insight into measurement. I explained very carefully yesterday, if I may repeat it again briefly. Insight has been, as man, as scientists and others have experimented, insight is the accumulation of knowledge, as I told you about the monkeys and so on, and from that accumulation of experience, knowledge, have an insight into the understanding of the structure that is based on the past. Now we are saying that is not insight. Insight is total perception of the whole complex movement of measurement. And you can have only that insight when you perceive it without previous knowledge. Then if you are using the knowledge, then it is comparative, it is measurable. Insight is not measurable. You get it now? Then when there is that measureless insight, the whole, the unfolding of the whole movement of comparison, all that, not only seen, but ends immediately. If you can test it out. You don't have to accept the speaker's word for it. You can test it out. So, what is beyond measure? There must be freedom from fear, naturally. Deep-rooted conscious or unconscious fear. That's a problem which can be observed, resolved. Because the root of fear, the root, not the various branches and the leaves of that tree, the root of that fear is time. Right? I am afraid of tomorrow. I am afraid of what has happened. The physical pain, which have had, gone, and they fear it might occur again. The whole physical phenomena of pain. And psychologically too, one has done something wrong, not right, not honorable. Honorable, I'm using the word in its dictionary meaning, not what you call honorable, Lord. And psychologically, fear is time. I am afraid of dying. I am living, but I dread what might happen, which is the measurement of time. So the root of fear is time and thought. Right? Now, to have an insight into that is the ending of totally fear. When one ends fear, you say, what is there? You follow? We'll go into that later. So, the ending of fear, which means the understanding of time, and the ending of sorrow. If this is not clear, if the mind, the brain are not afraid of it, then there may be something more. But you see, we want to be assured. We want it guaranteed. Like a good watch, especially in Switzerland, like a good watch, you want it guaranteed. That will last at least 3 years. We have the same attitude that if I do this, what will I get? That is commercial mentality. Right? If I do this, will you guarantee me that? There is no guarantee. And that's the beauty of it. You have to do it for itself, not for something. And that's very difficult for people. One gives up this in order to reach that. Nirvana, heaven, whatever it is. Which are all acts of measurement. So in the mind, we are sharing this together. Can the mind be free of all measurement? In your relationship to another, which is much more difficult. And to be free of all that is to be measureless, and then something totally different takes place. When that is described, that which has taken place beyond measure, that which is described is not what is. You understand what I'm saying? You can describe the mountain, shape of it, the line of it, the shadows. You can paint it, make a poem of it, describe it. All that is not the mountain. We sit in the valley and say, please tell us about the mountain. We don't walk there. We want to be comfortable. So there is a state, not a state. There is something beyond measureless, beyond all measure.